Apparently we dream in black and white. It's a pretty interesting idea, don't you think? Because when you're looking at a black and white photograph, maybe you're in touch with something that's a little bit of the uncanny here. You know, you're looking at something that is subconsciously deep down a little dream of yours, or it can become a dream, or it's part of a dream, or in the language of a dream. When you're photographing in black and white, colour becomes non-existent to you. I mean, for 30 years I saw in black and white. It's a very strange thing. I'd go down the street and not see colour because I didn't need to see it. It didn't worry me. You know, what people wore didn't worry me. What a building was painted didn't worry me. I mean, there's something wonderful about black and white. When I take a photograph of somebody in the street, I'm not getting to know them. I know nothing about their past, their future or present. People are natural, they're not posing, they're being themselves. If you can do it well enough, they never see you taking the photograph. You get under the skin of somebody. Somebody's in their own shell, their own world, and that becomes a metaphor for all of us. That's what interests me about street photography. It's the only photography that is possible to do that with. The more you think about things, the less you do. You know what I mean? And photography is an instinctive medium. Like when I'm out on the street, the last thing I want to do is think about what I'm doing, because I wouldn't do it. Photography is not about being intelligent and being clever when you're doing it. It's being intelligent and clever when you put it together and choose your work. A child can take a really good photograph. In fact, children take sometimes the best photographs because they don't have all that why stuff in their head stopping them from, you know, gee, I can't take this photograph, the light is wrong, or you know, gee, I'm going to wait for the right light, or wish I had brought my other lens. I think the first big show that I had was part of a group show with 2 other photographers, and I guess that work must have been seen by people because then I was offered the show at the National Art Gallery, which I think it was one of the first shows of photography. 50 photos seemed like an enormous number. And I remember being pretty excited by it, yeah, because, you know, it's all these big paintings all around in other rooms. I thought, oh, here's my little photos, because I only printed them reasonably small in those days. They have to stand up to all this big paint.
One of the first photography books I ever bought was 50 Photographs, Peter Black. It was a Photo Forum publication, and I think that I got his photography straight away. I just immediately related to it. Street photography essentially is what I've always tried to do myself, and it's a real talent. Very few photographers can actually really do it, and it relies on a unique position and a unique vision, and I think that Peter Black's photos have that. You can see them from the early work from the late 70s to the current work, which is in colour. There is a unity of vision in that work, and you can pick a Peter Black photo. It's like the standpoint that he's photographing from, the position of observation and the way he observes humanity. His viewpoint is somewhat askew. He is the eternal observer. He sits in a slightly different space to most other observers, and that's why his photographs are uniquely his vision.
Now I'm in a new world, you see. Now I've given up the whole black and white thing that I've been doing for 20 or 30 years, and now I'm excited again. I can do colour at home, I can control it just the way I did with black and white, and I can build up projects. I mean, I can just go out tomorrow and take 200 photographs and it's not going to cost a cent because it's digital. So yeah, I'm excited. That's a whole new thing for me. Yeah, I'm starting from scratch, really. That's how I feel, day one. These are almost romantic photographs for me. It's very easy to gravitate towards, you know, the very bright things and start photographing them, because that's, you know, after you've been seeing the world for 30 odd years in black and white, suddenly somebody gives you eyesight to see colour. That's what it felt like anyway. You know, it felt like somebody had given me a special pair of spectacles and, hey, the world's in colour, I didn't realise this. This work is not really meant to be political, or if anything, it's social. It's about how we live in a way, what sort of buildings we live in, but it's about the edge of town. It's about outskirts. It's about the things that we tend to ignore. In a way, the simpler a photograph is, the clearer it is, the better it is. They don't want to see cliches. They don't want to see sunsets and beautiful scenic, you know, rivers and mountains and things like that, because those sort of things are a dime a dozen. I think what the art world wants to see generally is a photograph that is of a commonplace thing, but photographed quite simply. And in a way, that is the hardest thing for a photographer to do. Now, my balance has to be like the subject matter and the way it's been photographed have to be together on the same, they have to be equal. If one tips over the other way, like the thing is too dramatic, no matter how well I photograph it, it's always going to be lesser than the drama. They have to be in this incredible balance. It makes it fun for me to make it difficult, you see. I have to have this thing where the subject matter doesn't outweigh the way it's been photographed. Most of my photography does have people in them, and I guess that's what I'm known for in a way. I thought I'd have a break from that, to be quite honest. But this is irresistible, because this, you know, I think this is one of the key images in a way, too. I mean, I think to humanise all this, I mean, we have got people, the tiny little figures in one or two of the other photographs, but here they're very clear, it's quite blunt, it's about them. Because most of these people are working very tiring jobs. They're working hard, you know? And to have this photograph of these two guys, I think it's important to dishumanise the rest of the work. Just to remind us that, you know, that inside all these outskirt buildings, something is happening. There's people working, you know, and working hard to keep society going. You know, we wouldn't have anything. Nothing would be distributed, nothing would be made or fixed or repaired without things on the outskirts. With photography, I mean, to me it's the greatest thing in the world. These things are stopped forever. The beauty of photography is to stop these moments so we can look at them. I still find that magical. I mean, I found it magical when I first did it, and I still find it equally magical now. It's an unbelievable thing to do because we have no other means of doing this. Our memories are so fleeting. Our touch on reality is so short. Our ability to remember is so skewed. Other memories come on top of other memories. The memory card gets wiped in your brain and it's replaced, and the version that you had of those events are all wrong and slightly askew. Treat the street as my office, really. I go there every day to work and try and find these images. It's very hard, and I'm hardly ever successful, to be quite honest. Maybe that's a bit of the challenge of it too. I've got to be on top of my game when I do these photographs. I've got to constantly be fiddling with the camera. I've got to, every time I go into a bit of shade, I've got to be changing the settings. I've got to be completely aware of the process of the thing in my hand. The thing that I'm using to capture these things, I've got to be constantly thinking about it. Some photographs are good in some terms, but they just don't have a feeling. So I'm trying to get something that's something else. I'm trying to find this thing.